How to identify quality in clothing or rand by Bernadette Banner. Okay, we're gonna look at this. Educational guys. I am not. I don't buy clothes. I'll be real. I barely buy clothes, right? At all. My all my clothes were sorted out. That's the only good. I think that's another good thing that this bitch did. Is she sorted out all my bad outfits, and now I've only good outfits, I guess. Which is nice. Anyways, we're gonna look at this. Also, please consider liking and subscribing. I appreciate it. We're gonna look at this. I'm curious. That's not what I wanted to press. Here we go. Let's see.
It is no secret that the quality of our clothes has been steadily declining drastically before our eyes, especially over the last 10 years with the rise.
Yeah, the kids, Southeast Asian kids in slave labor aren't working hard enough. We gotta get them whips out. Anyways, moving on.
Of ultra fast fashion that is practically made to be disposable.
Oh my god. It's like swimsuit material. This is the thinnest.
I like her outfit. I like how it looks. I really like how it looks. She looks pretty in that.
Corduroy I have ever seen. I need to calm myself. We're gonna get kicked out.
In 2021, UK households discarded an estimated 546.
546, not bad. 546,000, not bad. Also, I like her hair. And she seems to be a Doctor Who fan as well. Because she has one of the cyber... She has a helmet of a Cyberman in the background. That's also cool, I guess.
6,000 tons of unwanted clothing. Add to that an increasing population of people who are never taught how to sew or repair textiles, including a fifth of participants polled in a survey that if they so much as lost a button, they would...
A quarter of those polled do not even know to on a button, with a fifth admitting that if they lost the button, they would rather buy a new item of clothing than fix it. Ha! I'm different. See, I know how to sew. So, if I have a hole, I'll just fix it, right? If it's not something that's, like, too visible, right? I don't want to wear something... Yeah, she dresses well. Yeah, absolutely. Looks really good. If I have a hole and it doesn't seem to be too visible, or like it's something that I only wear at home anyways, right? Usually I'll just get out a needle, my sewing kit, and then I'll just fix it. I got no problem with that, right? I'll just fix that right up, no problem at all. Like, put the button back on, right? I have, for example, a lot of like the bed sheets and covers, right, that have buttons or like if they do get holes. I'll just fix that. There's no point, right? Yeah, a real man knows that. Yeah, I'm a real man in this case.
rather buy a whole new garment and throw the old one away. With the ubiquity of low-quality materials and cost-cutting manufacturing both flooding the high street and the so-called high-end market, how can we tell...
To be fair, this is nothing, like, right? Things that break easily, things that, right, low quality. To be honest, that is nothing unique that's to clothing. Look at your electronics. You know, having, what is it, right? Guarantees? Is that what you call it? No. Right? When they fix it for you, should it break in a certain span of time, right? Here's a fun fact. These electronics are built in a way that they break not that shortly after it runs out, which is very funny, right? They do it that way as well. Buttons are the easiest shit you can sew. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, it's really easy. It's really easy. It really is.
Just by looking at a new find, whether it'll be a wardrobe staple for the next 10 plus years or shedding buttons after the second wash. To help you find some answers, I think we need to go on a little shopping trip. Thanks to Midas Merge for sponsoring this video. If you're looking for a perfectly enchanting new game to enjoy, I'm so pleased.
I'm just gonna say it. She just does these videos to flex her outfits, her style, her knowledge in fashion. I'm gonna be real. That's the only reason she does this. Obviously not, but still. She's flexing her outfits. She could be straight out of a. She could be straight up just like a female Disney movie villain. Not gonna lie, with that.
I am so pleased to recommend Midas Merge, the adorably whimsical Merge 3 game. Your aim is to help King Midas rebuild his Garden of Gold by merging items to hatch creatures, to collect items, to go on quests, and to unlock new areas to explore. None of those pesky real-life annoyances here, just pure whimsy. The creatures are just so adorable. Although as a certified rodent person, I have to say that Cappy Bird is undoubtedly my favorite. It's completely free to download, and I love that it's available offline so you can play it on your commute.
Nothing in this world is free. If it is free, it'll take your soul. It's that simple. It's that simple. Acknowledged, dear. Acknowledged. Also, hi, how are you doing? Hope you're doing good.
On subways, on plane rides, which I have been doing quite a lot of recently, to discover this gorgeous game for yourself and to start healing the Golden Garden. Download it's okay, it's part of the vibe. To discover this gorgeous game for yourself and to start healing the Golden Garden, download Midas Merge for free by clicking the link down in the description box below or by hitting the QR code.
Today, I'm going to focus on two primary categories to look at when assessing the quality of our prospective new clothes. The construction, or how the clothes are put together, and the content, or the materials that make them up. Because unfortunately, even a well-skilled tailor would be hard-pressed to make a well-formed jacket out of Shein-chic polyester crepe. In the construction realm, we're really going to be looking for indicators that time and effort were put into the making of the garments. Any indication that time-saving methods may have been favored at the expense of durability, or that.
So we're really gonna just look at stuff and be like, basically, what we're gonna do here is essentially look at the qualities of like certain outfits or pieces of clothing and like look if they were made with love or they were just like sloppily made by barely paid workers. I'm here for it.
That corners were sometimes literally cut entirely is going to be a huge red flag.
That's diabolical right there. That was diabolical right there. Wait a minute. That was actually... Hold up. That was actually diabolical. I see these things often though. I see these things often. Or like you wear something one time and it's like diabolically broken already. I have that as well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see it.
To be a huge red flag.
Aww, they're fake. Fake pockets? Oh, delightful. Okay.
They really just are putting pockets on there for nothing. For aesthetic pockets.
One telltale sign that a garment has been made too quickly is the length of the stitch.
See, here's something interesting. I had this before, right? Where something did have false pockets. And I did try to stick my hand into them and just like tore it apart. The pain. We know how shit your fashion is. Watch and learn how to buy good clothes. Hate fake pockets. Hate them. See, I don't have... I dress well. I do dress well.
That were used.
The stitch length? Marley's hand for scale. That's insane.
This makes the sewing process faster, saving time and therefore some small amount of money in manufacturing, which also indicates a laser focus on profit. The longer stitches are also more prone to snagging and being cut, and fewer points of contact between fabric and fabric will ultimately mean a weaker seam. Sometimes when the stitches are too far apart, the whole seam can feel really loose, and a good way to test the strength of your seams is to hold it up to the light and pull each side apart. If you can see light coming through the seam, and your fabric, of course, isn't sheer, you've got major structural problems. That is not a garment that is going to stand up.
You dress well, Cap. Fuck off, first of all. Fuck off. I've been told I dress nicely recently, right? Thanks to the evil woman, so stop complaining. Second of all, I see these things, and just it's horrible. Bro, most jeans for women have shit pockets. Stop complaining. You guys don't know the true struggle, but we don't have much See, shut up. You know why? At least you have a variety in the stuff you can wear. For us, it's just it's jeans and shirt. We don't have that much in between. It's just jeans and shirt. Everything looks the same. And we can't even wear vibrant colors. You know why? Because it's gay. Gay, I tell you.
Too many washes, and certainly not to any stress or strain. Pattern matching on straight seams for regular patterns like stripes or checks or tartans is pretty commonly applied even for some of the more fast fashion-y of high street brands, but any lack of pattern matching is really going to be a huge indicator of extreme cost cutting in manufacture, or just plain negligence and lack of quality control. In any case, you probably don't want to be messing with that. Curved seams are exempt since the patterns probably won't naturally match up along the complex lines anyway, and some—
To be fair, I don't like if clothes if clothes have big buttons. I don't like that. Who told you that? Your mom? The women went out on dates recently because I'm being forced on dates. Well, I would also choose a gate, right? Leave this world and never come back. I take that as well. Not poke color are nice, okay. But depending what color you are, it's just gay. Well, you could just wear them and be gay. And if you want to, that's a choice. A woman can never comprehend a man's struggle. Get out of here.
More complex fabrics like florals may also be exempt if the pattern is subtle enough not to scream at you on first glance. But definitely bold or regular patterns like stripes and checks and tartans, that will really stand out if the pattern isn't matched. And that's really something that the manufacturers should be looking for when making a garment. One should also beware invisible zips. They are fun and inconspicuous, but they are also plastic and one of the weaker forms of zipper out there. Especially if it's on a tight-fitting garment, be extremely cautious.
Zippers are a pain in my ass. Okay? Zippers are the bane of my existence. I wear a jacket for a week, just for a week, and that zipper just gives up. Either the lines itself, right, on the zipper, like they just break and then you can't get the zipper further, or the zipper itself breaks. You just pull once and then suddenly you have this, like, you have the zipper in your hand and it's like, oh well, I just had this jacket for like a day. That's cool. Or the handle on the zipper, right, that you pull on just rips. You have it in your hand, like, oh cool, that's awesome. Hey, at least I can still close it and open it. Miserable experience.
Because that zip will be prone to sticking or splitting, and if you're not prepared to either replace the zip yourself or take it to a repair shop, you're probably going to lose access to the whole garment. Generally, the wider the width across the closed teeth, the stronger the zip will be. Garments that take strain probably shouldn't be closed with something less than 6 millimeters. Medium snug garments can get away with about a 4 millimeter. Anything less should be worn very loose with very little pressure on the zip. It's also really great to look out for healthy seam allowances. The more the better. Oftentimes manufacturers are not leaving a lot of room in the seam allowances because the closer you can cut the garments, the more material you can save to make more garments out of, but it does not give you the option as the buyer to customize the garment fit as much as you'd like. Be wary of serged or overlocked edges. The word, by the way, is interchangeable, but serging and overlocking, same thing. It is one of the weaker forms of edge finishing, and it contains lots of long float threads, which once again means it's really easy to catch and to pull. A lot of brands I'm finding nowadays, especially a lot of the really ultra fast fashion brands, are trying to just get away with just serging the two edges together and not actually stitching it first, or using one machine that does both at the same time. This seam is going to come apart so fast.
I am discovering this specific thing so much. I think most clothes I see that are affordable or just cheap do have that. And then every time I end up just having some loose threads just hanging around, I'm like, if I pull on that thing, it just falls apart completely. It's just so miserable. It really is.
Once again, serging is not the strongest of stitches, and it's so easy for those float threads to just pull on something and to pull right out, and there's your whole seam gone.
Bro, what's the point of the serging if it's still shredding?
Bro.
For vibes.
Oh my god. Not to say that all serging is bad, it is a very fast way to finish an edge, especially for fabrics that are pretty durable. And serge garments that I particularly don't have a huge problem with is if the seam has been serged on either side, but the seam is otherwise pressed flat open. Serging is not doing any structural work, it's really only just doing the work to try and seal off an edge. This also, of course, allows the buyer access to the seam allowance if you do wish to make alterations at any point in the future. So it's just good practice on the part of a manufacturer of ready-to-wear clothing that is probably, let's be real, most likely not going to fit everyone perfectly and probably will need some alteration for a significant portion of their buyer base. The much more durable way to finish seams is either by binding, where another strip of fabric is sewn around the raw edges, flat felling, where the raw edge is turned inside and stitched down, or French seaming, where the seam is sewn twice, once outside and then inside, so you have a fully encased, clean seam. But you should definitely try and avoid overlocked edges on looser weaves that are more prone to fraying, especially if you can see little bits of frayed material coming through the overlocking. I'd avoid that. One would think that this is a no-brainer, that you look at a garment and, you probably shouldn't see loose threads.
Yeah. Yeah, this isn't that uncommon. Like, sometimes I just look at something, right? And, like, even, like, just, like, putting it on, and I feel like, oh, wait, hold up. There's just loose threads hanging around everywhere, and I'm like, yep, giving that back. Giving that back. Because, like, bro, I'm not doing that. That is horrible. Especially, like, since they're already loose, right? If you get stuck if they get stuck somewhere, like or you accidentally pull on them, the clothing is just done for.
But I was honestly so shocked at the amount of fraying and threads and bits just coming apart in the shop. Some little stubbles here and there, I would think I would expect, but entire loose, like loops of thread, that to me screams lack of quality control, rushed manufacturing, lack of finishing, potentially weaker stitching. And honestly, it kind of says to me that the workers making the clothes are not given ample time to properly finish a garment, which doesn't feel great to me as a consumer and doesn't bode well, I think, for the longevity of the garment. So definitely look on the insides, have a look at the seams and the threads, especially around the buttons where the buttons are stitched on. You really don't want to be seeing loose threads.
And yet, if you're not someone like her, you just won't give a shit. Let's be honest. We're all gonna see this video here, right? And we're just gonna go back to usual thing because we don't give a shit, right? Just buy a new one.
We'll also need to consider what the garment is made from and how the components will stand up to wear. First and foremost, I like to make sure that the fabric is appropriate for a purpose by examining the fiber content, that it has the warmth or weight or breathability, etc., that is most appropriate for the context in which I plan to wear the garment. This is a spandex suit. Are you kidding me? It's like swimsuit material. This is a swimsuit.
Oh no, it has 49% wool.
Wow, that's the highest natural fiber content we've seen in this whole store.
And 48.
Crazy. Crazy spandex suit is just made out of swimsuit stuff. That's funny, dude, the color shit. I had a denim jacket when I washed it, bleeded color on everything. Yeah. There's a bunch of clothes that if you wash them like a few times, they're like completely washed out. Even with like appropriate even with the appropriate way to wash them. It's diabolical.
3% polyester.
Okay.
And 3% other fibers.
What does that mean? Oh my god.
What does other fibers mean?
So a general rule of thumb is that cottons, linens, those really natural light plant fibers especially, are really great for warm weather, as well as looser weaves and cuts of garment. Wools and heavy silks, tightly woven fabrics and tight fits are better for cooler weather. Synthetics, like polyesters and viscoses and acetates, those are a bit of a touchy subject. They can and often do look and feel really bad. Ooh, that is horrific. Oh my god. This is the fabric that you get on like pillows on airplanes. 4%.
Yeah, I'm wearing an airplane pillow. That's even worse. Seems like it. the jacket was Levi, I don't care. Where you guys buying your clothes from? There's like shops that have clothes. Like literally super like I'm not going anywhere fancy, right? Right? We have a few shops that just sell exclusively clothes. And sometimes even like random supermarkets just have something like socks, for example, right? You can get them quite easily from there. That's not a big deal. Right. Socks survive a lot. So there's that.
Percent elastane, 100% polyester. Don't worry, this fabric is 104% something.
Wow. Not to mention, of course, being really bad for the environment in the production and leaching of microplastics each time you wash them. But in terms of wearing, they can actually be decently friendly enough as long as they are not worn next to the skin. Since polys are effectively made from plastic fibers, they do not breathe well at all, which is why they make you feel so sweaty, and they get stinky really, really fast. So what I like to do, since I'm in the practice of buying natural fiber new garments, but I do a lot of secondhand and thrifting, and I still do wear polyesters that, you know, are secondhand and pre-existing, but I keep the natural fibers near the skin, especially near the stinky bits. That way I can get away with wearing synthetics over top of the natural fibers. The natural fibers can be washed regularly. They'll stand up a lot better to washing. The synthetics will not need to be washed as much because they won't have contact with the skin, and they will therefore not get as stinky. A note on wools. I know we may think of wool as being scratchy and generally something to be avoided, but those are actually the coarser fibers that are on the outside of the sheep. They are, of course, the cheaper fibers that are often used to cut costs.
This is so itchy.
The more desirable inner fibers nearer to the sheep's skin are
Yay, itchy stuff. I usually don't wear itchy clothes, so I don't care. Socks are fine if you're gonna buy clothes. Not gonna just go to a mall. Usually better quality, and you won't get a ton of variety, but it'll usually be better. But again, they'll also have these issues, so nah, it doesn't really matter. Also, like, if I wanted to go to a mall, I'd have to at least 50 or 70, like somewhere between like 50 or 70 kilometers. That's just really not worth it to get like a bunch of jeans or something. That's really not it, right? And I do mostly just wear jeans, right? That's just really not, there's really no point, right? I feel like.
are actually super soft and warm. Once again, it's perfectly fine to wear scratchier wool on the outside on, for example, a trouser or a jacket that's meant to be worn over top of other clothes, but anything coming into contact with your skin, we shouldn't have to suffer. Wool is such a good, long-lasting textile. It's antimicrobial, so it doesn't stink as quickly, which in turn is fantastic for the garment because, once again, the fewer washes we can put our garments through, the longer they will last. So great for sustainability, great for longevity. It is a essentially waste product of the sheep at this point. Love everything about it. It's also really important when assessing the materials to test the weave. Fabrics with lots of loose floats in the weave will catch and eventually snap, which can be very hard to fix without patching. And if you aren't really skilled at this type of repair, it might be something you want to avoid. This also includes the underside of a fabric as well, especially on brocades or intricately woven fabrics. A lot of the times the underside
Diabolical. Absolutely diabolical. 70 for a mall? Yeah, because we have, like, malls aren't really a thing here. Because we have like a bajillion different supermarkets and shops, right? We have like 4 or 5 big supermarkets here, and overall in Germany, right? Everywhere, and like there's multiple clothes shops too. It's like there's no point for a mall. A mall wouldn't last here just because it wouldn't like it would actually need to be outstanding to last. Like malls are just for like really big cities. That's it. Okay, please tell me you have formal pants. Oh well, not really. I guess I do have some, but like I don't think they even fit anymore. Because I lost quite a bit of weight.
of the fabric will have a lot of loose floating threads. This is fine, but in this case,
I feel like this is not fine because, well, if it's like one in a few clothes, yeah, okay, fine. But if like this happens quite often. Also, to the formal pants, I don't need them for anything at all. I don't go anywhere. So like. I don't really need any formal clothing. If I do need some, I'll just get one if I need one.
a garment really should be lined just to protect that underlayer of the fabric and to ensure that your garment lasts as long as it possibly can. Looser weaves are going to be more delicate and more prone to snagging and forming holes. Although not all loose weaves are bad. In fact, a lot of the time loose weaves are desirable for lighter weight garments, for diaphanous and flowy things. It should just be noted that these looser weaves will probably need more care and just a little bit of caution to keep them from snagging. The consistency of the weave is definitely something also to look out for, especially in linens. Historically, when linens were hand woven, they were gorgeously uniform. When you look at a linen nowadays, you will often find a lot of slubs, a lot of really thick sections in the linen. A really good quality linen will have as few irregularities as possible. This goes for any fabric, really. It could be a design feature, it could be a design choice, like a silk du peony, but again, something to be wary of and, not put those garments through particularly rigorous activities. Speaking of lining, not all garments need to be lined. Lightweight dresses and blouses can be weighed down by an extra layer, which actually might not be desirable.
I'm out of the loop here. I don't wear women's clothing, so that isn't really my forte. I'm taking away your men rights. Get yourself some formal pants, you fucking cock wobbler. But I don't need them. They're useless to me. Chances are I'd never wear them. I'd probably never really wear them at all. When am I supposed to wear them? There's no point. Baggy is in. It's all fashion. Baggy always works. But I don't like wearing baggy clothes, to be fair. You could wear a rag and someone might consider it fashionable. I'm gonna wear an armor, a knight's armor.
Nice weight trousers also tend not to need a lining, but a lining is definitely a sign of attention paid if it is there. And especially when it comes to tailoring, jackets, coats, suits, waistcoats, lining is in that case essential to hide all of the structural shaping and the layering that goes into a well-tailored garment. A jacket without a lining, where you're free to see the lack of structure inside, that is definitely bad news. So of course we wanted to look at some ultra fast fashion Shein garments while of course exploring the realm of quality. So we purchased
Isn't it called Shein? Also, I wouldn't get anything from that place. I also wouldn't get anything from Temu or anything, right? Because like this stuff is bathing in toxic metals, toxic light metals and stuff. So like and other stuff like, but bro, learn about women fashion. It comes handy time to time. It never comes because I'm never gonna need to buy clothes with a woman or anything, so that is out of the question. I don't see that happening in any way, shape, or form. So I don't really need to know that. It's cool side facts though.
some brand new with tags Shein garments off of Depop because we're not supporting that garbage. This one, by the way, arrived smelling so bad. Not in a biological way, no one's worn this, it's new with tags, but in such a heavy chemical way, it still absolutely reeks. So I don't know what is being put into these garments, but that doesn't smell safe.
We have a pair of trousers from ye old Shein. These have no structure to them whatsoever. I mean, you would expect, a lot of trousers are made from wools, or sometimes you'll get a cotton or linen that's a lighter weight, but it will still have dimension to it. This just sits so flat and is so wrinkled. You've got your frayed threads, you've got your extremely long stitch lengths. When you open it up, it's just all surging. Oh look, there's yet more fusible interfacing that is doing absolutely nothing to the structure of this waistband. The fabric is so thin and so flimsy, you're gonna see right through this. We have a dress here that's built like a...
That probably will just like, the toxic waste chemicals that has been in, bathing in, probably, I'm assuming, is probably deadly at that point if you put that on your skin, I'm assuming. Not gonna lie, right? Right? Also, don't get any makeup or nail polish from Temu, by the way. Or Shein, or whatever these fuckers are called, because like that shit will burn through your carpet. What makes it stop from your fingernail, anyways? Never been out shopping with Mama Duck? Not in a while. I think I haven't really, like, overall, no. Last time I bought clothes was with the evil woman, and that was it. And before that, I haven't been out buying clothes for like what? A couple of years. Cause like they just I'm just like, go ahead, buy stuff, I don't care. Before that, right? So there's that. I don't. I barely go out shopping overall at all. Like maybe once a year. Maybe at best. That can also happen like once every 3 years or so. Depends.
Swimsuit. Oh my god, this is gonna be so sticky and so sweaty and so stinky. 94% polyester, 6% elastane. A dress like this, you know, made out of a good quality cotton, would last a long time and it would be so comfortable.
Also, like, I wouldn't like. This looks like this. I'm gonna say this. If she didn't tell me that was a dress, I would think like this was a swim, like a fuck diving suit. Don't buy yourself some clothes, man. What the fuck? But I don't have to. If others can do it, I could just be productive. Meanwhile, they do it for me. Like, it's that simple. Like, it's that simple. Once a year isn't too bad. You can get those numbers up there. I am not Jellywig. Let's up those numbers. Ever since I started to buy my own clothes, I started to get compliments for it. Ever a woman started to buy clothes for me properly, at least do it for the compliments. I kind of don't. I don't go out enough to get compliments. What is it with you? I don't go out enough. I don't care about such trivial things.
Like, there's no reason for this garment to exist. And it's gonna fall apart. I mean, look at the stitch length on this. 3 millimeters for this stitch. Victorian stitches are like 0.5 millimeter.
That's a big stitch. I don't know if that's a big stitch. Anyways, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Again, from the outside, I looked at this and was like, is this like a swimming suit or something?
Those garments, they'll survive a nuclear apocalypse. This might not survive 3 washes. So we have this jacket. I would say, you know, let's unpick this. Let's open it up and see what's inside, but we don't need to do that. The whole inside is just here. Well, I am kind of impressed that they at least have a shoulder pad. Not that it's doing much because this fabric has absolutely no structure to it. You know, at the very least they have a facing, but that's it in terms of lining. They've interfaced the facing with the weakest fusible interfacing I have ever seen. We've got massive serging here, and this is all one machine here, this stitch with the serge. We have a very weak button sewn on here. Lots of loose threads. This is gonna pull out in a couple.
Yeah, that button is clinging to dear life. That button is hanging by a thread. I'm such a comic. I'm such a comic. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that happens though as well. I'm like, dingle dingle dingle. I can't like sometimes if I see somebody have it right in my family, I'm like, I'm not playing with my finger at it like dingle dingle dingle.
Of wares. You know, we've got an unfinished thread here. We've got a buttonhole that it's just been zigzagged. It's zigzag stitched over the buttonhole. This is not a buttonhole. As you can probably already see, it's already fraying. 100% polyester. That tracks. Here's the jacket that I'm wearing. You can see that it's got a whole lining on the inside of it. There's not only a jacket lining, but there's also a separate sleeve lining. You can see beautiful buttonhole here that's stitched as a proper buttonhole with knots on the edge so that when that button passes through, that edge is fully encased there. You know how when YouTubers are like editing me here and they have to like make an update or a correction? I guess that's kind of that, but this is just me in my natural habitat. I think it's important to recognize that there are tiers of clothing and the affordability does not correlate necessarily with the.
Yeah, I get that. The thing is that if you want to live affordable, you're still gonna have to make some cuts, right? You have to make some. You have to cut some corners. Unfortunately, that's just how it is, right? That's just how it is, unfortunately. But yeah, that makes sense.
Quality. You know, we do run into a little bit of debate on price here, because you also can get designer things in which you're paying a lot of money, but you're paying for the brand recognition, not necessarily the quality or the amount of time or labor that's gone into the garment. Shein just so happens to be at the bottom of the barrel on both price and quality. The jacket that I'm showing in this video is a Vivienne Westwood jacket. It's a ready-to-wear jacket. So it's definitely a step up from a jacket that you'd find on a high street, but it's a significant step down from like a jacket that you'd find on Savile Row. I also altered it myself, so like, you know, I have opened it up and I have seen the inside. The point of showing these two jackets and comparing them is in knowing what to look out for. So knowing to look out for structural integrity, looking at the fiber content, looking at the constructional details, because you can find these constructional details in high street clothing, and especially if you're looking at thrifted and secondhand things. That's the TLDR, is price does not equal quality. Designer or brand recognition certainly does not equal quality. On the inside, you've got, I mean, there's padding in the shoulder, but that's part of the design. But it really, you can see it really holds a structure. Even when I haven't got my hand in it, it's still holding that curved structure. Whereas you see with Shein, you just put that down and it just flops.
It's just like flat. It's just like flat and like a lot of folds and everything. That's interesting. But yeah, at least they think about shoulder pads. At least, you know, at least that.
There's an interfacing a canvas down the front here to really help that front sit smooth and have that dimension that the human chest has. And it's got structuring in the front of it to help that lapel really sit back like that. Instead of just being pressed with an iron, it's in the shaping of the material itself. You know, you've got this felt under the collar here, which is a non-woven fabric, which means it can be shaped and it can be molded. It's literally built into the memory of the fabric to be able to sit in this shape. Whereas something like this that's just been pressed this way, the minute it gets washed, that crease is gonna come out in the wash, and then you're just gonna have a basic floppy lapel. It's not gonna wanna behave in any specific way.
I know ethics and sustainability haven't really been the primary focus of this video, although in many cases the issues are inextricably linked. But it's worth noting that even sustainable brands are not exempt from quality pitfalls. A couple of the self-proclaimed sustainable shops we went into had similarly poor, if not worse quality than some of the brands that didn't even...
Well, keep away from fire is crazy work. Well, here's the thing though, right? Sustainability does not make money. That's the harsh truth. Sustainability does not make money. I say clothes in under mid-range price is the best price to value, probably, yeah. But yeah, sustainability does not make money, right? You can only uphold certain qualities still if you are actually profitable. If not, you're cooked.
Pretend to be sustainable, particularly this one that we went into that claims to be the most sustainable clothing option aside from being naked, which offended me so much. It took every ounce of my willpower not to leave. Okay, I'm gonna go on a tangent. Hello? The second most sustainable option to being naked is not buying new clothes and then maybe
Technically, the most sustainable version would be if you buy decent quality clothes and also know how to fix them and also know how to fix them. I think that, well, you could go around naked, but you probably get jailed for public indecency or well, if you're a man, if you're a woman, you're just gonna be detained, right? You're not committing a crime in that way. Anyways.
repurposing old clothes, and then maybe buying secondhand, and then maybe buying new clothes from small-scale makers. We're on like step number 5 already, and we're still nowhere near the high street. It is inherently unsustainable to be producing items that are going to fall apart prematurely, especially when they are sold to a consumer base that doesn't have the repair skills to keep up with the high maintenance cost, or even a consumer base that has the awareness to prioritize longevity. But in terms of sustainability, there are 2 sides to this issue. Poor quality items that already exist, I think, don't necessarily mean that a garment should be completely dismissed entirely. They still have the potential to be worn and to live long, functional lives. The poor quality indicators are just indications of a garment's weak points and things that you, as the custodian of the garment, should be aware of when taking on the responsibility of owning the garment. It effectively transfers the
Who cares? I'll be real. I'll just buy stuff when I need it. Literally. I mean, Germany has specific nudist areas, but they're usually limited to, like, beaches and stuff. Right? You can't just walk around naked in the middle of Berlin with your junk out. That doesn't work that way, buddy.
labor costs skimped on by the brand onto the buyer. I say this to make the point that these garments shouldn't necessarily be treated like trash since they already exist. They can still be worn perfectly functionally and they do have the potential to last, but they'll just require a bit more vigilant care than a garment normally would warrant. However, it should also be acknowledged that low quality is inarguably a pretty shameful state for a garment to be sold in. And it's pretty shameful for brands to be prioritizing profit over longevity, especially in the catastrophic state that the textile industry is in right now. I'm going on a tangent, but a lot of the times we look at these portraits in history and they look so regal, they look so...
Yeah. See, here's the thing, though. We live in a time where profit matters most in all things. Like, this is not something that's specific to clothing, right? Profit is what keeps the world running, and that is, unfortunately, not going to change because overall, most people do not give a flying fuck, right? Now the big talk is AI, everything's made AI, it's soulless, it's fast, it's sloppy. The people are still gonna consume it whether you like it or not, and they're not gonna care. Some of the most major artists currently on Spotify on #1 spots and crazy stuff are just AI generated songs with like millions of listeners. There's like somebody who had like 3.6 million listeners. And I'm like, yep, that clicks. That does make sense. That does. It just does. You're never getting rid of this.
So different to how we look today. It's not that they as humans are shaped differently, it's the way that their clothes build out their human form, as it has been done all throughout history, the way that we build these incredible silhouettes to make us feel a certain way, to hold ourselves in a certain way. They're conveying so much about a person through the clothing and through the shaping and the silhouette that we are losing today because these mass manufacturers just cannot be bothered to put in the effort and just prioritize their profit over the long historic art of clothing the human body. I'm gonna die on that hill. If you're looking for some resources to learn or top up your sewing skills to start taking control of your own wardrobe, my book, Make, Sew, and Mend, should give you all the tips and techniques you need to get started. And I also have some classes over on Skillshare
Nah, I learned my stuff from my mama. She's the best teacher.
if you prefer the visual demonstrations instead. Thanks once again to Midas Merge for sponsoring this video, and do be sure to subscribe if you wish to see some more videos on textile craftsmanship and all the things we can learn from looking back at the history of fashion.
Anyways, yeah, this was at least interesting to look at. I beg the diff if people talk about sustainable fashion more than ever. Brands with shit clothing are getting called out. See, those are the loud voices, but at the end of the day, what matters most is what's being bought. And the harsh truth is that stuff like Shein and Temu are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So much bigger, in fact, that we're now here in Europe debating on putting extra taxes on them or extra tariffs on them so they are just as expensive as the regular stuff here. Clothing brands are being outsold by cheap products from China. Get more plastics. Life's more gooder. You can listen to about what people talk all they want, right? People are still gonna consume it. People are still gonna buy it, regardless, right? Again, it's the same with again, I'm doing the comparison to the AI slop. In 2 to 3 years, most games will in some way, shape, or form have generative AI. And you're never gonna stop them. Because the overall mass does not care. It doesn't matter what a few loud voices say, right? There's plenty of people saying how bad the meat industry is, or how bad the of how bad it is to use generative AI or how bad it is to use some other slop, right? Then you look at the numbers and actually the consumption goes up, not down. What people say doesn't matter. What they do matters. And what they do is they buy slop. You're never getting rid of this, right? You're never getting rid of this. It is what it is. It is what it is.